For those of you who are here for the first time, welcome. My name is Daryl and I'm the founder of OVERMUGGED. And alongside my team of tutors, we serve thousands of students every year to help them succeed in their academics and to mold their character into a motivated and enabled learner. 70% of our students score a distinction at their national exams, almost double that of the national average. This is by no means an accident, as we ensure that we put our students through an intensive program which properly prepares them to excel at their exams. Now, the night before an exam can be daunting. Time feels like it's running out, stress levels are spiking, and every unread page in a textbook looms large. Now, while the ideal scenario is to start preparing early, sometimes life happens, and you're left with just hours before the big test. Now, the good news is that there are effective last-minute revision strategies that you can use to make the most out of your time, especially when you use your time wisely. So in this chapter, we will explore techniques to maximize your revision efforts in those final few hours. Now, the first thing I want you all to learn is to prioritize commonly tested topics. Now, not all topics carry the same weightage in your exam. If you left your revision till the last minute, it is crucial for you to focus on the commonly tested topics first, as these concepts are the ones that are most likely to appear in your test or exam and will form the backbone of your subject. These are often recurring themes from your past year papers or central concepts in your syllabus. Now, how can you go on to identify commonly tested topics? Firstly, review your past year papers. Scan through all of your past exam papers and look for which topics appears the most frequently. Next, you will probably want to look through your school notes or your textbook. Review which topics and concepts your teacher or your tutor has covered the most extensively on, and go through the notes to spot the repeated points or anything that you probably underlined or highlighted out in the past. Lastly, consult your friends or teachers. So if you're not sure, ask a classmate or your teacher on which are the key focus area that you must master. For example, for chemistry, mole concept is super important as it forms a foundational base for all of your other topics. Once you have identified the key topics, devote more time to think through and to skim through those that are less important. The next technique that I want you all to try is to do active recall. Now, when time is tight, reading and rereading your notes isn't efficient. Now, instead, try active recall, which is a scientifically proven method for studying that involves testing your memory rather than passively reviewing content. This technique forces your brain to retrieve information, strengthening your memory and understanding. Now, how do you do active recall? It starts by quizzing yourself. So you would probably need to close your book, try to recall key definition, concepts, or even formulas from memory. Next, use flashcards. Write down questions on one side of the flashcard and the answers on the other side. Then test yourself repeatedly, focusing on the cards that you struggle with the most. Next, summarize out loud. Try to explain a concept to yourself or to your study buddy. And if you can explain it clearly, you know the content. If you struggle to explain it, you probably want to revisit the concept or the topic again. Next, the third technique you probably want to learn is called chunking. Now, chunking is a memory technique that involves breaking down large amount of information into much smaller and manageable pieces. So instead of trying to memorize a whole chapter, break it down into smaller sections, such as your key points, formulas, or even case studies. So one example for chunking, for example, if you're studying physics, chunk it down to key definitions. And then you look at all the key formulas in the chapter. Then you look at explanation with keywords. And lastly, problem solving. So what you want to do is to break your revision into chunks and then piece them together at the end for a fuller understanding. The next thing you probably want to consider using is the famous Pomodoro technique. Now, when time is under tight pressure, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and for you to lose focus. The Pomodoro technique is a time management method that helps you stay focused and productive for short but intensive periods of time. It's especially useful for last-minute cramming as it encourages you to study with full concentration, followed by short breaks to refresh your mind. So how the Pomodoro technique works is to set a timer for about 25 minutes and to focus entirely on studying during this 25-minute period. Then you'll proceed on to take a solid 5-minute break after the timer rings. And you probably want to repeat the cycle for about 4 to 5 times and to take a longer break subsequently. So this method helps to keep your brain fresh and it avoids burnout so that you're able to stay efficient throughout your revision session. Next, this is one of my favorite, and that is the use of mind maps for quick overviews. Now, mind maps are a great way to visually organize and to connect different ideas. So when you're cramming, mind maps help you to see the bigger picture while keeping the details concise. So for subjects like history or biology, where there are several concepts that are interrelated, mind maps are invaluable for creating a quick overview of key points. Now, how you can start with a mind map is to start by writing out the central topic in the middle of the page. And from there, you start branching out to key ideas related to that topic. You can add sub-branches for further details. One technique that's very helpful is to use colors, symbols, or even diagram to make it more visually appealing. Now, mind maps can be done very quickly, and they give you a very good visual summary that's easy to recall during your exams. Now, one of my personal favorites is to do mind map for organic chem, as it clearly shows how one homologous series is related to another via a chemical reaction. Next, focus on your weakest topics first. Now, in the final hours before an exam, it's easy to feel the urge to skim through everything, but spreading yourself too thin won't help as well. So instead, focus on the topics that you're actually weakest in. This gives you your highest return on investment in the form of time spent. What I mean is by going from 0 marks for a question to 5 marks for a single question on a topic that you previously couldn't answer is the difference between a 1 grade jump or a 2 grade jump. So revising what you already know really doesn't do too much, as you already know the content. But tackling your weakness, however, could fill in crucial gaps in your knowledge and score you more marks in your exam. So the steps needed to focus on your weaker spot starts by reviewing mistakes from your past year papers. Go through previous exam papers that you have done, your prelims, your weighted assessment, to spot mistakes that you have made and to understand where you went wrong. Next, you want to list down challenging topics that you typically struggle with during class and prioritize reviewing them first. Lastly, get help quick. So if there's a concept that you can't understand, no matter how hard you try, don't waste too much time on it. Clarify your doubts via a consultation with your teacher or your tutor. Lastly, there's also what I call your mnemotics or your memory aid. So for information that's very tricky to memorize, things like dates, definition, or just a list of things that requires pure hardcore memorization, mnemotics can be a lifesaver. So they are mainly a memory aid that helps you recall difficult information through patterns, acronym, or any rhymes. Now, one of my favorite ways to remember my EM wave spectrum in physics is Gorilla X urinated violently in my room. So starting from gamma ray to X-ray all the way to your radio waves, that's just a very simple way to use an acronym to remember the sequence in our EM wave spectrum. So these techniques are very easy to create. You just need to be a bit more creative when you come out with it, and that makes memorization so much easier under pressure. Last but not least, please remember that rest is essential. So it's very tempting to stay up all night just to cram information, but sleep is critical for memory consolidation. A tired brain is far less efficient at processing and recalling information. So even during last-minute cramming, aim to get at least 6 to 7 hours of rest before your exam. This ensures that your brain is rested and ready to perform. So quick tips is to avoid any screen time before bed. The blue light from your phone or your laptop screen makes it a lot harder for you to sleep. So try to step away from your phone or computer at least 30 minutes before your bedtime. Next, I encourage power naps, as if you're really pressed for time, that 15 to 20-minute power nap can really help to recharge your brain and to improve your focus. So in conclusion, while last-minute revision is not ideal, it is totally possible to optimize your study efforts by focusing on key topics, using memorization techniques, and by staying calm. So the strategies here are designed to help you make the most out of your remaining time without burning out before your exams. So remember, doing your best with the time you have is what counts. And these methods will help you a lot when you enter the exam hall feeling a lot more prepared and confident. So please remember to subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Good luck for your exams.